most of mathematical courses you have to be very good. Why? Because these are providing a practical tool to solve problems. And in industry, what people are doing, they are actually solving problems. So in order to solve any problem, you need to know some kind of technique. Technique are always based on mathematical concept. So just focus on all these concepts. So today it is lecture number 30, and title of this lecture I have already given it. It is random vector. And once we will have enough idea about random vectors, I will talk about function of random vectors and related concept. That if you're talking, like if you are having a random variable, then you are talking about uh, parameter like expectation, variance, and if you are having two random vectors, then you are talking about expectation, variance, and covariance as well. And normalized form of covariance, what we are calling it correlation. So those things also will come here because it is dealing with random vectors. That means each component is a random variable of that random vector. So that's why every terms whatever we have already studied in previous modules, those things will come here as well. Okay, so very simple kind of example. I will take random vector. I will take definition in a very short form, and then I will take several example of random vector so that this concept will be more clear to everyone. So I am talking about random vector. You can say that it is a vector function of random variables. You can say that, but simply you can say that you can exclude this part. It is very deep in sense. So just you can call random vector. Actually, it is a vector of random variables. Random variable, several random variable would be here. So just I'm just ignoring this because it is part of a deeper part of mathematics. So consider for layman way, random vector is nothing that it is a vector of random variables. That means several vector you are taking in together as an entry of the vector. So that's where random vector it is coming. So you can another way you can say that in more specific or mathematical way, you can say that a random vector, uh, a random variable x is a function that assign a vector of real number. So here I should put it in dark. Whenever I will talk about random vector, I will not take notation in bold notation. Capital bold letter will denote random vector, and capital letter simply denote a random variable. So that is the difference. So that's why. So a random variable, this capital bold, it is a function that assign a vector of real number to each outcome. That means we can say that random vector, it is a function from sample space to Rn. Remember that in a random variable we had taken the codomain of from random variable happens to be simply R. So a random variable is defined from sample space omega to R. But when you we define random vector, it is having different variable. So what is that? Different kind of representation. It is saying that it is a vector valued function. You can say that it is a vector valued function. The argument may be anything, but when you will get output would be always a vector representation. So this is the output. You can observe that a random vector x, it is a n-dimensional vector in which each component is a random variable. Each x1 is a random variable, second component x2 is also a random variable, or simply you can say that each xi, that component, you can here mention it here, each xi is a random variable. You can observe that. And if someone is saying that one particular value of random vector, that we can denote it by a small bold cap letter x, a small bold letter x. That means any particular value of random vector, it will have n component. In such a way, first coordinate or first component of the vector would come from first random variable x1, second component would come from second random variable x2, and likewise. So one simple explanation I had already given, that I had already mentioned that if you are trying to see the relation between binomial random variable and Bernoulli random variable, then what you observe that actually Bernoulli random variable, if you uh, a Bernoulli random variable, it is associated with Bernoulli trial. That means tossing a coin. If you toss a coin, then you are getting a Bernoulli random variable. Either it will tossing, while in the process of tossing a coin, either you will get one head or you will get one tail. That means in the name of variable random variable, you can say that either you will get one for head and zero for tail. So that's it. So Bernoulli random variable xi, you can say that xi, it is denoted it is just associated with ith trial. It is a Bernoulli random variable associated with ith trial of your ith trial of tossing a coin, or ith toss. You can simply, in short, you can say that ith toss of a coin. So if you toss a coin n times, that means there are n number of Bernoulli random variable, n number of Bernoulli random variable. So if you are taking all those n Bernoulli random variable as a vector, in a single vector, then you can claim that actually binomial is a vector. Later you will give notation. It is associating binomial random variable is it is associating. Uh, it can be written as a vector. That means x1. It is talking about the outcome in the first trial. X2 is talking about random variable associated with second trial, and likewise you can. So this representation you had already seen that. So binomial is very much you can write in term of random vector as well. So that is the story. But I will, this one is very trivial example. I will take some example from practical scenario. What is that first example here I am taking? Suppose arrival at a pocket switch. So at a switch, regarding switch, you might be a pocket switch, you might be aware of, because you people are from EC, so those concepts might be clear to everyone. So pocket uh, arrives at each of three input ports. So there are three input ports of a pocket switch according to how? According to Bernoulli trials. So I told that here x1, x2, x3, input are coming, three input are coming to the input port uh, according to Bernoulli trial. Its probability of success half. That means probability of failure is 0.5 and probability of success is also 0.5. That's why parameter we have taken it 1 by 2. Okay. So this is the scenario. So here each arriving pocket is equally likely to be destined to any of three output port. Okay. Let me. So here there is a hide. So I should delete this. Okay. So I think it might be clear to everyone. So that means if you are taking all those three input in together, then what will happen? You observe a random vector of size three-dimensional random vector. So simply you are observing three-dimensional random vector, where first component you can say that it is total number of the packet arriving to our first output port I. Second, x2 will talk about random variable associated with output port 2, and x3 is a random variable associated with output port 3. So that in that process you are getting a random vector. So here x is a three-dimensional random vector. You can say that whose value are determined by the pattern of analysis arrival at the input ports. Okay. Another example I would like to take it from joint Poisson counts. So Poisson distribution, I had already expressed that how you observe that. Suppose you are staying in hostel and you want to you have to go institute in order to attend classes and other academic activities. So what you do, you have to wait near a bus stop, and the number of buses that will pass through that bus stop, it will explained by Poisson distribution. That number is and the time duration, if you will take a time duration between n into consecutive buses, that will be the distribution of that time duration, it will be explained by exponential random variable. So here when just you are talking about count of buses that passing through particular bus stop, that always we explain happens to be discrete in nature, but the time duration happens to be continuous in nature. So here Poisson distribution, when we are discussing Poisson distribution, we're talking discrete fashion. So a random experiment consists of finding the numbers. That's the number of defects in semiconductor chip. Okay, and identifying their. So if you take a semiconductor chip, you have to identify number of defects in that semiconductor chip, and identify where is that defect is located. So you have to identify the location as well. So your number is coming. That's why count is coming in as a Poisson distribution. The outcome of this experiment consists of this kind of vector. So n, you remember that here y1, y2, y3, all these are what value of random variable. Y1, a small y1, it is value of random variable, capital Y1, small y2 is value of random variable, capital Y2. Now tell me what is n. The n is talking about number of counts. So here number of count is also variable in nature, so that vary randomly. It is not varying in deterministic way. Like there might be possibility that three defect would be there, or it might may possible that two effect would be there, or it may possible no defect would be there. Such kind of scenario is coming. So number of sample size that also in random in nature. So randomness in n is also coming. So that's way all these are we taking together, so we are getting a random vector. So it is a random vector. So for our purpose of study, generally just to make problem simplified, what we do, we exclude this n. We at a time we take n as a deterministic count. But in practical, if you go, that n sample size also happens to be random in nature. If you go in practical situation, in a real situation, then n happens to be random in nature, where the first component it specifies the total number of defects, that n what I told, that remaining component specify the coordinates of their location. So these are the coordinates of their locations. Okay, so there are two kind of random variable we observe in this random vector itself. The first component happens to be discrete in nature. It is talking about count or Poisson discrete. That's why it is having Poisson distribution. And what about rest of n variables? Those are actually n component. Those are actually location coordinate. So location coordinates can take any real value. So these are what continuous in nature. You can say that. So you can say that in this random vector we observe mixed kind of entries, mixed kind of entry as a random variable, mixed random variable as entry, you can say that. So here it is just I would like to say it is a random vector. Suppose that the chip consists of m regions. So in this semiconductor chip, you just pointed out to several regions where there are possibility of getting defect. Okay, possibility of getting defect, the location of possibility of getting defect, and we are calling n1, n2, n. These are actually counting number of defect in this region. So in first region, n1 is the number of count of defect in this region, n2 is the number of defect in the second region, and nm is the number of defect in the mth region. So these are the count. So if you talk about this one, so it is the number of y that falls in that region. Also you can say that nk of w, you can say that it is the number of defect or number of y's. Number of defects means number of locations of that defect. It falls in the region k. Okay, and the vector this n1 n2 up to nm, it is talking about a random vector. It is random, various random vector we can observe. So this is our desired random vector that we have to study. So random vector, and each random component of this random vector happens to be Poisson random variable. Poisson random variable, because it is talking about number of defect. So always you can observe that number of count in case of Poisson distribution always happens to be very rare. Like also call dropping, when you are calling someone using some kind of cellular form, that call dropping also can coming in the same category. That call dropping also you can explain with the help of Poisson process. Okay, so now another example I would like to talk about, sample of audio signal. So audio signal might be clear to everyone now this day. Just in this current lecture itself, you can observe that I'm not using video. Okay, lecture, I'm using audio. So video, just intensely I just switch off camera so that we can get a very good bandwidth to transfer my audio signal to you, and also to, vice versa. I can say that vice versa also I can get proper doubt from your side, so that I can answer or I can clear your doubt. So that's why it is just about signal, audio signal, or you can say that all these are part of signal processing. So sample of audio, take here examples as a sample of audio signal, and here how we can define random vector, that we will study. And just thing is that we are just studying random process. Here in random process all these things again it will come, but just these are prerequisite of in order to understand random process perfect way. So let here this example, talk about this example. Let be the outcome of random experiment be an audio signal xt. So here the evolution t is, we are talking about in term of evolution. So t, that means there would be initial time, then after that next time it will come like this. So t here evolutionary in nature. That's why we are getting a sequence of random variable or a pattern of random variable for different time in the evolutionary process. Okay, so let the random variable xk, that means we did discretization of the continuous time. So always if you observe watch, it is not giving a continuous time. It count, it give through ticking. So ticking happens to be discrete in fashion. So that's why we did discretization through watch. So one kind of discretization that suppose you have taken interval 0 to, so you can divide this one into n part. So this one will be 0, this one would be uh, uh, what you do, or you can take bigger interval with a step size t also, you can take it like this way. So take bigger interval, you can say that give some name, another name b, this interval you have taken. So and you have taken a step size t is the step size. So from there you can say that this is 1t, this is uh, 2t, this is likewise uh, this would be what 3t, and kth term would be here, it will come in sub interval, it will be kt. Okay, and b you can say that you have divided interval 0 1 0 b into n parts. So b is actually n times t. So that scenario is coming. So here when you are defining a random variable for this specific t, that we can call it x of t, x, or simply we can say that x1. And for the sake of simplicity, we can say that it is here, it is defining x1. So you can say that it is x1, or in detail you can say that random variable is for uh, discretized time t. And likewise here it will come to define random variable for time, that evolutionary time x xt, because you have capital T is the time difference, or you can say that a step size of the uh, okay, this width. Okay, or width also, you can say that width. And this random variable we are denoting it by xk. So it is one way of process of discretization of continuous thing. Okay, so xk is that kind of thing. So xk be the sample signal taken at a time kt. Okay, and now an mp3 codec processes the audio in a block of n sample. So you are taking n sample at a time, n sample, that means sample at this point, sample at this point, sample at, so n sample at a time you are taking. So that's where you are getting a random vector. So you simply n dimensional vector you are getting random vector. It is, so you can say that it is n sample. It is actually random vector in nature. So all these are example of random vectors. So I will talk about few more interesting concept related to this random vector, because we are having random vector. We have to develop theory to measure the randomness in these random vectors. So that's where we need to define events and probability in term of random vector. Event of in term of random vector and probabilities of those random vector or those events. So each event A, it will definitely involve random vector n. And n is just it is your thing, how much component you want, you can proceed with that. And so an event A involving this random vector uh, x has corresponding region. It is having a corresponding region. That region would be again a subspace of Rn. It would be subspace of Rn, and we are interested in that event that is having some product form. So Rn itself, what we do always, we say that Rn is what? It is Cartesian product of R. We have taken n times. So that product form is better to deal with this random vector. So Rn, we see that it is actually product of or simply we can say the Cartesian product of R n times. How many times we have taken? N times. So in that pattern, if you are taking any subset of Rn, and the subset also you can visualize as a partition product, a product of, okay, like this situation. So you are taking an event, so x1 is coming from you uh, a1, x2 is coming from a2, xn coming from an. Okay, so what is the product form representation here I will give, and also I will talk about so it is defined in such a way. So x1 is talking about first random variable, that x1 is dealing with this r, first r. X1 is associated with first r, x2 is associated with second r. Likewise, in coordinate system in R2 or R3, you have already seen that this axis we are calling it x1 axis. This axis we are calling it x2 axis. This is the situation. So like this way. So like this x1 is associated with first R. This x2 is associated with second R. And likewise, if you are in R3, then the vertical coordinate x3 will associated with third R. So that is the situation. So you have decomposed this A in such a way. AK is what it is talking about, one dimensional event along a particular direction. Along a particular direction, that subset of real line, and that involves AK only. That involves, so like here, if you just consider this direction, the here only x1 is varying. If you take along this direction, only x2 is varying. So it's such kind of situation. So the event A occurs when all the events will occur jointly. Then this event A will occurs. So it is a joint representation of x1, x2, x3. So individual, I had already mentioned that x1 is coming from first, it is first component, x2 is second component. That means x1 is associated with first coordinate, x2 is associated with second coordinate, and likewise xn is associated with nth coordinate. So that's why when this event will occurs, when every event, although the respective direction will occur, that time A will occur. So joint, it is A is talking about joint occurrence of A1, A2, A3. In that process, we say that X is talking about joint occurrence of Xk's. Okay, so this is the story of event. Now, once we are having idea of event, and how we can calculate probability of that event. So probability of that event we can calculate in the similar fashion through product rule. We can calculate. So here probability of A is nothing, just that X is coming from that region A. So if you are taking R2, A might be a two-dimensional subset. So this might be a. So here, if you try to zoom it and try to see in coordinate wise, so this one is along x1 axis, and these are the value along x2 axis. So that is the scenario. So here I have taken nth, uh, we have taken n order n dimensional random vector. That's why n component is coming. So x1 is taking so what is it? So if you are taking this one, so what would be a1? A1 would be just project it this one, this along x1 axis. So this one is your a1. Okay, a1 segment. And what is a2 segment? Project further this or completely you can project. So up to this one a1, and project this further here in x2 axis. That would be your a2. That is the event a2. X2 component is coming from a2. X1 component is coming from a1. So sorry, this one is a1, not it. Okay, this one is a1. So like that way. So that's the probability of a is nothing, just probability of x1 is coming from a1 intersection, x2 is coming from a2 intersection. Likewise, up to xn is coming from an. So you can simply say that uh, this probability, you can say that this joint probability. So probability of A is nothing, that it is talking about joint probability of x1, x2, x3. So that x1 is coming from region a1, x2 is coming from region a2. And in simple way also you can say that A is what? It is nothing, that it is a direct product of a1, a2, a3. In simple also you can say that like this. It is direct product of just Google it regarding direct product. I had already explained summation of two subspace. There is a concept of direct product of two component when you talk about a proper complete decomposition. So it is very much related to direct product. So anyone feel that they need to know direct product, just put your comment in comment box. Definitely I will cover that as well. Okay, so it is a representation of direct product. It is nothing, just a special kind of Cartesian product. In such a way, it is talking about a proper what if you take it is it will cover the complete object. Whatever object you will take under consideration, it will cover that. That direct product will cover that. Like if you in R3, so if you're taking a metric, then it will be a direct product of null space and row space. So that we had already said. Why? Because we know that if you taking a matrix, 3 by 3 matrix, and if you sum null space with row space of A, row space generally we denote it by column space of A transpose. Column space of A transpose. We see that so this summation cover complete R3. So in that situation we can say that actually R3 is what? It is nothing, just it is a direct product of null space of A and column space of A transpose. That representation is this thing we had already discussed in algebra, linear algebra. So you can recall from there. It is a direct product of this one. So that scenario is coming. So it is the way to find probability and event in case of random vector. Okay. So we are going further. So once we are having a random vector, then a random vector is having n number of components. So we will talk about joint distribution of those random variable as well. So it is very much essential to discuss about joint distribution. So the joint distribution, that means cumulative distribution function. And I had already told that cumulative distribution function, it is unification of probability mass function and probability density function. So that's because it is taking unit notation for both the cases, both for whether it is discrete random variable or continuous. So that's why first we are discussing about that, because we don't know here in random vector few components may be discrete nature and few components may be continuous in nature. And later we will see that what would be nature. So that's why we need to first discuss about joint cumulative distribution function of the random vector and dimensional random vector having these are the components. How we can define it? We can define it like this way. So the joint CDF for a specific vector x, it would be defined in the similar fashion that we used to define that. We are saying that this CDF is equal to what? It is talking about the random vector x is taking value up to x. And here you observe that here this x is what? It is vector in nature. And among the vector, we don't have any order property. We can't say that in 2D vector, in 2D we can't say that this point is greater than the origin or this point. There is no such situation. We can't say that 1 1 is greater than 1 1 1 or 1 2. We can't say like that. We can't say that it is greater than 1 or 1.5. This order property is not valid in R2. It is not valid. It is wrong. So that's way. If order is not valid, what we do, we can define uh, what we coordinate wise order property we can define. That coordinate wise order property is having name, because along x1 axis we can say that this point is before this point and this point is before this point. That we can say that. That ordering we can introduce along coordinate axis we can introduce. So that's where the this component this probability that random vector is taking value up to x, it can be defined like this way. Coordinate wise order property we can define like this way. So we have to find this probability, and we will see that it is nothing, just it is talking about joint probability. It is talking about joint probability. So this joint CDF generate a family of, so now from the joint CDF we can generate a family of marginal CDF. Also we can introduce conditional CDF as well. So various things we can introduce. So how we, from the joint CDF, how we can define marginal CDF? So easily, simply which component you don't want, you want to exclude or you want to exhaust. For that, just put it infinity. So like this way, you can say that CDF of x1, x2 up to xn, it can be given by that you are going up to component xn minus 1. You don't want xn nth component. So just exhaust it by putting infinity. So that component will be exhausted. So it becomes a CDF of x1, x2 up to xn minus 1. So okay, it is fine like this. Similarly, if you or someone is saying that how can you find CDF of x1 and x2? So just remain let it as it is x1 and x2, and for x3 onward put things infinity there in the form of CDF. So you will get just CDF of first two variable x1 and x2. So this is the process to find CDF, marginal CDF. So just these are part of theory, not used in practical. Okay, I will talk about one example of application of joint distribution. How we can observe that that maximum mass and minimum mass. Every student might be always worrying about who is getting maximum mass, who is getting minimum mass. So those directly what. So even mass of a student, it always happens to be random variable. You can't say that I always I will get a 20, I will get a 20 marks, or I will get a 30 marks. So it is always random in nature. It depends upon many scenario. Where it depends upon your hard work, how much hard work you are doing. It depends upon the question quality, how and what kind of question, what kind of question is there. So it depends upon many things. Okay, so that's why always if you talk about mass, what mass before what you have already seen your mass, before that it always random in nature. Once you have already seen it, it would be no more random. So before obtaining your mass, things should be random in nature. So everything. So those mass in what mass in various category, or you can define among several marks. You can introduce one more marks that I have to select one topper. Who would you topper? The person who is getting maximum mark. So if you're max, you are introducing max. Max always happens to be a function. So it is talking about a function of random factor. Because suppose there are three, one in radio. So one example here, just I was talking about from mass perspective. Another example here, that there is a radio transmitter sends a signal to receiver using three paths. There are three paths. So x1, x2, x3 with the signal that arrive at the receiver along each path. So x1 is coming from the first path, x2 is coming from the second path, x3 is coming from the third path. So we have to find the maximum that signal, that it is less than equal to what is the probability that maximum of all x1, x2, x3 it is less than equal to 5. So we have to find this probability. So we'll see that it is just a value of CDF at 0.5. So the maximum of these three number is less than equal, definitely maximum of these three, if you're taking maximum mass is less than equal to 50, then definitely each component would be less than equal to 50. Why? Because 50 is the maximum. That's why each component of 3, it would be less than here equal to 5. If maximum is less than equal to 5, definitely each component would be less than equal to 5. Therefore, we can say that this probability that maximum is less than equal to 5 is just equivalent to say that the probability that x1 is less than equal to 5 and x2 is less than equal to 5 and x3 is less than equal to 5. I had already mentioned that there is very equivalent kind of relation between intersection and AND. So that's why I call this intersection as AND. Okay. So here, what is this one? So if you just remove this intersection and put it AND, then it is taking a what the form of joint distribution. So that's why this probability is actually the value of CDF at 0.555. It is the that if you are having CDF, easily you can calculate this probability. Easily you can calculate that maximum mark. So it is very interesting when you are having some mixed kind of random variable. What you do, always try to find CDF, and you are able to find CDF easily. You can calculate many things. You can calculate max probability, you can calculate mean probability, and many things you can calculate here. So the joint probability mass function of n random variable is further. So once we are having CDF, joint CDF, from there we can define, and we came to know that each xi happens to be discrete in nature. Then we can introduce joint probability mass function. How? Just, this one is we can define it by this way. Very simple way. X1 is taking value x1, x2 is taking value x2, and xn is taking value xn. So this we are calling it joint probability mass function. Okay. And if someone is suppose xi is x, the random vector is taking value from a this particular region in a subset A, then we can calculate that probability by summing all these probability. Okay, by this summation we can calculate. Now once we are having this joint probability mass function, from there we can define marginal probability mass function. So all these are just a repetition of same what we had already studied in previous classes. Okay, from this sub, so what we do? So in order to find marginal probability mass, but from the sub collection of n random variable, because n dimensional random vector we are talking about, the one dimensional PMF xi is found. How we can find? By adding the joint PMF over all other xj's. So if you are trying to find what is the probability mass function of xj, so exhaust other random variable other than xj. So exhaust all other. So suppose you want to find what is the, suppose joint probability mass function of this random vector is already given, and someone is asking that find the marginal PDF probability mass function for x1. So what you will do? You have to exhaust x2, x3 onward up to xn. So scenario is coming like this way. So if you are willing to find the probability mass function of xj, then take summation. Okay, so here xj, the take summation over all xi's except j. Here you can observe that j is missing. Summation here in the summation after j minus 1 xj minus 1, directly we are taking summation over xj plus 1. So here we didn't take summation with respect to xj. If we had taken summation with respect to xj as well, then due to normalizing condition, this sum would be 1, but we are not taking that scenario. So exclude, intentionally I have taken out that in order to see that, in order to find probability mass function for xj, the component xj. Okay, if for just I will take go for this one was scenario for one dimensional marginal. Second we can find two dimensional marginal probability mass function. The two dimensional marginal probability mass function, in order to find that, you have to take a pair of random variable. That means pair of component. You that either you take x1 x2, or you take x2 x3, or you take x4 x5, like that way. So take pair of random. Even you can take x1 xn or x2 xn. So any two random component may come from the random vector. Is found. How we can find? By adding the joint probability mass function over all the random variable except only those two for which we want to find marginal distribution. Okay, marginal probability mass function. So we have to suppose you want to find marginal probability mass function of x1 and x2. So what you do? Take summation with respect to x3 onward. So if you are willing to find marginal probability mass function for x1 and x2, so take summation of all the probability mass function except, so dotted line I am putting it here. So it will go summation over all x3. Likewise, it will go up to summation over all xn over joint PDF. What joint PDF you are taking, take it, bring it here. So through that you can calculate. Likewise, you can find joint three-dimensional joint PMF and four-dimensional, and like nth dimension. And nth dimensional would be the joint PDF itself, the joint probability mass function itself. Okay, so this is the scenario what I have taken. So suppose another scenario is that you want to take n minus 1 dimensional vector. So how you can find marginal PDF for n minus 1 dimensional? That means for nth, with respect to nth component, take summation, then nth component will be exhausted. Then that means you are getting n dimensional, n minus 1 dimensional marginal PDF probability mass function. So here, because random component are discrete in nature, so that's way. Now once you are having marginal probability mass function, with the help of marginal probability mass function, you can always define conditional probability mass function. What I had already discussed that. So if you are having, you willing to define conditional probability mass function of x, give here, sorry, probability mass function is coming, not probability density function. So if you are notation for probability mass function, I'm always taking it p. This p is a small p. Okay. So what is conditional probability mass function of x given y? So always we define it through ratio of joint probability mass function of xy. Okay. A joint probability will come divided by marginal probability mass function of y, divided by marginal probability mass function of y. This definition we had already seen. Okay, same criteria is coming here, because here we are taking n dimensional vector. Here it is talking about from two-dimensional vector perspective, but here we are going for n-dimensional vector. So for n-dimensional vector, what we do, if you are trying to find a marginal conditional probability mass function of xn given first n minus 1 component, nth, that xn is nth random variable, it's coming with respect to nth random variable. So we are trying to find conditional probability mass function for nth random variable xn. Then what we have to do, we have to take our joint probability mass function and divide that by n minus 1 dimensional marginal probability mass function. So we have to, so this is n minus 1 dimensional marginal probability mass function. Divide it and you will get conditional. So here various conditional probability mass function you can define. It is not only, it is one dimensional. So talk about from the dimension perspective, it is one dimensional probability mass function. Similarly, you can define two dimensional, three dimensional probability mass function. Likewise, n minus 1 dimensional probability mass function you can define, and n minus 1 dimensional conditional probability mass function you can define. Because why? N dimensional probability mass function would be the same joint probability mass function, it would be the same. So that will, so that is a scenario. Various probability mass function you will get it here. Various probability conditional probability mass function and marginal probability mass function you will get it here. So you have to keep on if you do such in the, if you are having idea of marginal probability mass function, you are having idea of conditional probability mass function, then just apply law of multiplication rule. So through that multiplication rule, you can say that a joint probability mass function always can be written expressed as this product of this n dimensional, this one is what, it is one dimensional probability mass function. And likewise condition you try to put it like this way. So this one is one dimensional conditional probability mass function, this one is also one dimensional. This one here, what is conditional probability mass function of xn, this one is conditional probability mass function of xn minus 1. This likewise you will, last term would be marginal probability mass function of x1 will come. So it is just one way of just generalization of what multiplication rule, what we had already seen that. So if you are having two events a and b, then how we can find probability of a intersection b? We usually find it like this way. Suppose someone has already observed b first. If suppose someone has already observed b first, so that person will write probability of b. That means that person know about probability of b. But if you have already observed b first, that means the happening of b introduce conditioning over a. So you can say that your new sample space for a is now, it would be b. So that means once you have already seen b, you will try to see happening of a from the b perspective of b. So that partial information of b. So b becomes a partial information away. So what is this one? This one is what? Product rule. The same thing you can write it like this way. So write it like this way. First write probability of a given b, and then lastly write probability of b. So this what is this? This is the multiplication rule. So same approach I have taken it here. So here suppose x1 you have already seen that. So based on x1, so take it rightward approach. So based on x1 you try to find conditional probability mass function of x2 based on x1. Then likewise if x1 and x2 you have already seen that. After x1 you have already seen the information of x2. Based on that you can find the conditional probability mass function of x3. And once you get conditional probability mass function of x3 as well, then go forward and find the conditional probability mass function of x4. Likewise you can find conditional probability mass function of xn, and do product of all those, and that things will give your joint probability mass function. So it is very interesting approach, just one application of, you can say that multiplication rule or conditional probability mass function. So that is the story of today's lecture. Other things we will discuss in next class regarding what is the mean vector, what is the covariance vector, and how we can transform one random vector to another random vector. So that transformation process will come, and when we do transformation, that time what will happen? We have to recall the Jacobian for two-dimensional or three-dimensional, four-dimensional kind of thing, transformation. Okay. So till now, derived distribution, I had talked about Jacobian in one dimensional. So in next class onward, we'll discuss about Jacobian in two-dimensional, three-dimensional, four-dimensional kind of things. Okay. Regarding